I'll introduce myself. So I'm just 8 weeks old in Mindfields. Before that, I did spend 6 years at ANZ. My background, I'm from finance, and I used to be part of financial control team, and then graduated to FP&A and then business partnering. And then the question normally I asked, how would I move from finance, commercial roles to an automation role? Now, as you know, in Australian banks, there are two things which normally happens. One, there's always a cost pressure, even though they are making billions of dollars in a year. The second one, the work doesn't reduces even after the cost has been taken out in terms of the FT. So as a leader of the team, what exactly you do? You have to resort to something which basically allow you to do the same work in less cost, and of course the speed of delivery to your CFO if you are part of FP&A, because they need to make key decisions is important, and that's where the whole I was forced to do the automation in my team that way. But once I got exposed, I really found this is an interesting area in terms of the value it can bring to your division, to your processes in terms of the decision making. And my first role was in the RPA. So when I resigned, I was effectively senior manager for the intelligent automation for finance. So that's my background. What I'm going to talk today is more around, because I know most of us in the room today has embarked on an RPA journey in some form or shape. The question is, what's next, and how you're going to use your first mover advantage in the RPA to actually build in something more exciting for your people and for your organization. And then that's where we need to have a look around. So if you look at the amount of the change we are going through in technology space, I'm going to go through. The first automation was a typewriter, and that happened in 1867. Any idea what was the next automation which we experienced and how long it took? Yeah. So we had computer, that was in 1936, and it took us good 75 odd years to reach that space. The next one was the mobile phone, which came in 1973, so it took another 36, 37 years. Then the next one was the internet, which was the key turnaround in terms of what it's going to unfold from future perspective. But that also still took another 27 years to basically reach. Then came process automation. So RPA is almost 20 years old. It started with RDA, or you can call as a macro in Excels, and then came the intelligent automation. But from now, what's next? There was a study done, and today there are 10,000 plus technology startups. Not necessarily they're all different, they're playing in the same space. So if you think you've got only one product per company, and I'm not counting their different versions, etc., you've got like 10,000 tools to choose from in terms of the automation. So what you do basically. Now, before we go to that question, I would like to throw some light on what exactly the automation spectrum look like. Now, if you go to your workplace, there are 3 or 4 things you do on a daily basis. You use your hand, which probably constitute 40 to 50% of your time. Then you need to use your brain, and then of course you basically converse the people to actually take the decision and actually add value, whether in terms of your revenue growth or cost optimization. So that's what we do normally in a day-to-day basis. Now, RPA is pretty much does what hands do. Then we have got artificial intelligence on the another spectrum, which basically would take decisions for you, which I personally believe it's not going to happen. So hence I choose to call it as an augmented intelligence rather than artificial intelligence. Because there's a one component which we also do is we learn pretty quickly as a human being. Now, machine would only learn when we will train them. But human beings doesn't need that training on a daily basis. So that's what we're talking in terms of the spectrum. RPA pretty much has started their journey, which mimics your human action. Now, to get to the artificial or augmented intelligence, you still need to take a baby steps. And there's something in between which we do where we basically use hand and brain together. So what are the different solutions available there? And whether it's a conflicting to RPA or whether it's complementing RPA. In most cases, it complements RPA. So if you look at the digital world, I've got a few facts for you. There are 70 vendors in RPA market. We've got the automation anywhere and UiPath, but then there are 68 more to choose from. 62% of the companies have adopted natural language processing. That's more on the cognitive side. So think RPA is more mechanical, NLP, chatbots, that kind of stuff is more cognitive. And there are 62% companies, they have adopted it, depending on varying different, degree of success. 83% of organizations have observed moderate to substantial benefit from implementing cognitive technologies. 73% of the surveyed senior executive wants to increase their investment in AI, machine learning, and the cognitive automation. There was another study done, which was, if your organization is data-driven. So normally, there's two ways you can take decision. One comes from your experience, which is like, okay, I know this is what the number would be, and normally you would land there. Or you can actually look at the data and take informed decision. That takes away the key person risk from your organization rather than going through somebody who would always tell you the things, and that would happen as well. But the thing is, your ROI would be 19 times more likely. Because if you think from a human brain perspective, we cannot process a huge amount of data. And hence we look at, we just scratch the data, what we've been presented, and take decision based on that. But the moment you get someone to go to the last level of the detail, because devil is in detail, and then allow you to take decisions, it's going to increase your ROI almost by 19x. Now that brings to, Mindfields product strategy. So part of my role in Mindfield is to, come up with the new offerings. And the strategy which we have agreed internally is that, we really want to be famous for, offerings which will make humans smarter so that they can grow for tomorrow. And then looking at that, now, if you look at the top, these are different, buckets of technologies we have got, starting from robotics to artificial intelligence. And then each number of applications available to choose from. But, like we create our teams, like we have got, organization structure, they're pretty siloed. So, every technology will solve one of your problem. But as an organization, you not necessarily want to go that way. You want something which basically cuts across your different problems and still give you one platform. That would be ideal solution, not necessarily can achievable. So in next 18 to 24 months, from Mindfield's perspective, what we're going to do is to take the best of all the technologies available, and how can we integrate them so that there is a one solution which does your automation end to end, and it's largely called one-click automation rather than getting your human workforce as well as your robots to say work together. So either it's fully robots, it's fully human, or they are pretty much assisted or augmented with those technology, and that's where the whole product strategy is we're going to work for the next 18 to 24 months. And I'm really, really excited that we will have some good products coming out of it. To start that, today, hence to ensure that, organizations are more data-driven, they take decisions basis the data. Now, I'll give you an example. So if your business leader comes to you and say, Praveen, I need this report so that I can make few key decisions, and I really don't know what exactly he's asking. That's the first question. Let's say I figured that out. Then I have to run through 3 or 4 different individuals to actually get the data. Now, of course, the extracts I will get will definitely not be in a form and shape which I can use, put together a model and actually tell, okay, this is what you need to do. Now, to solve that sort of a problem where I can, compress that operations to get the data, clean data, match them, enrich it, and then present it in a way which makes much more sense, but at the same time, it's the speed of the execution as well. So rather than taking 24 to 48 hours, can it be done in a matter of hours? And that's where, because earlier the decision you take, better it is. That's where you get the competitive advantage. And to solve that problem, we are today launching, our decision support suite, which basically has got two components of data wrangling and data visualization. And the wrangling is pretty much the operations part of what I just explained in terms of getting the data prep ready. There is a data integrity, so you are 100% confident of what decision you're going to make on data, rather than going through circles that my numbers doesn't reconcile. Data visualization, and again, it's not a platform, just to clarify. It is, again, as a service. So you have got tools like, Alteryx, Trifacta, Nime, Snowflake, etc. And we're pretty much tool agnostic in terms of if you've got anything already in your organization. What this product will do is to bring the best of the world in terms of frameworks. We'll come and do a data dictionary for you, QA module, so that gives comfort that data is right. And once that happens, then you basically like to do a visualization so that you don't have to do PowerPoints, because normally data crunching is a 3 to 4 hour exercise. Same time goes in, coming with a nice presos. Now, from the visualization perspective, there are 3 different type of dashboards you can do. One is operations, which is your basically day-to-day, what's your AHT, how many FTs you have got to do on a particular process, etc. The second one is the analytical, and the example would be you're solving a business problem. So, for example, what should be my revenue growth to meet my top line number? Or how much cost I need to take out from business, and what are the different ways looking at my past trend? I can do that. All that stuff, pretty much can be visualized on a click of a button. And the good part is, one of the things which we have been trialing and been successful is that we, take the drivers and we say the driver 1, you cannot touch, come what may. Driver 2 and 3 is where you can play. And basis that if you are in a CFO meeting and you need to take a decision, you can effectively basically say, okay, if you think your revenue growth is like 4.8% as compared to the 6 which has been forecasted, these are the 2 things which you will do. So it allows you to, take decisions pretty quickly rather than going back and, looking for more options. And then the third one is the strategic executive dashboards, which is more around your, yearly strategic planning exercise, not necessarily just from finance perspective, but there's a whole lot of models behind that, which comes from different business units, which can still be done. And then the delivery can be done by any of the tools available today, but it's all good tools, depending on what's the use case are. This is an insight into a typical workforce. That's a percentage of working hour, a normally individual in an organization would spend. So if it's an R&D, 50% time they would spend, playing with data, and so on and so forth. And hence the data wrangling and data visualization, wherever you see green is where you can pretty much implement. Now, there's always a question how it is different from RPA. Now, RPA basically allows you to get data right in first place, and you need that speed as well, rather than someone actually keying in data into the system. This actually, once you have done that, then of course there's a whole modeling, cognitive ability where you can take decision is where the data wrangling and the visualization comes in the picture. So again, it's not conflicting, but it starts with RPA and it's moving up on the spectrum. And then the next step after that would be more around putting, automated commentary dashboards, where you don't have to basically simply write English. It can be pre-filled. And then, of course, using, algorithms which can predict the outcome basis the data you have got. From benefits perspective, again, this is pretty much industry agnostic solution. It is business function agnostic. It can communicate with any existing data technology you may have in your organization. And the benefit would be definitely you would like to accelerate your productivity. Data integrity is one of the big thing, which it inbuilts a lot of control while we do the development so that it doesn't break. It's quite easy to implement. And the way we do it is basically, normally you would first try to understand the process and then automate it. With data wrangling, we actually ask you, okay, give us your data source, tell us the outcomes you want, and then we will work out process on our own. That may mean that we would change your process significantly, but it would be pretty fast, so that the process reengineering, comes with it automatically. And of course, the another thing, if you have to basically implement a solution where analytics is required, you basically have to go to IT or hire, data scientists. What data wrangling does is to actually allows your current skill set to do the work which data analytics do, and that's because of the tools which are available, and which in turn allows you to, embed the innovation culture. Because once you see the power of it, how fast it can, it can deliver those particular outcomes, people would automatically come from different departments to get it done. And that was my experience at ANZ, because we did implement the similar solution there. It's a mundane work, working day in, day out from the Excel, and absolutely, iterations which happens because the data is not right is where the problem is. And of course, from Mohit, it's rapid implementation and fixed price. That's what we do. But yeah, we have got a data wrangling use case in action today. So my colleague Tim and Lachlan would be there near that TV. Once we do go to the networking or during the tea break, feel free to have a look at it. How does it work? What are the use cases? And it's basically in action. So we have built a demo. So I will encourage everyone to have a look at it. Okay. So that's all from my perspective. Happy to take any questions, any suggestions. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Praveen. And I think we should call that lasso as a service, because really that is an immense task of wrangling all that data. We are on track for afternoon tea, so please help yourself to afternoon tea. We've got about 10 minutes to go through that.